sure like me your level of anticipation grows. I need to write more songs to improve my portfolio. I never know when I might meet an impresario. Let's have a solo. Questions in my life, this one does vex me so. I need the answers so that I can get on with the show. And so I hope you'll tell me, cause I really need to know. The calendar remains unchecked. Is it FAWM yet? Yes, it is FAWM. Hooray! We're here. We finally made it. It is the 7th of February. Not only is it February Album Writing Month, the challenge in which you have to write 14 songs in the 28 days of February. We are 7 days into the challenge of February Album Writing Month, when you have to write 14 songs in the 28 days of February. And that means that you should have 3.5 songs in the bag already. And Ryako Music says, I'm so behind on FAWM. There's 3 weeks to catch up, mate. You can do it. You can do this. Even if you haven't started, you can do this. There are friends of ours on the February Album Writing Month site, which is FAWM.org, who have already done 14 songs, which is, I think, probably a reflection on the mad and crazy times in which we live. There's been some really interesting threads in the chat on the forums on February Album Writing Month site saying, is it just me or has everybody gone mad this year? And Ever the One with the Stats says, actually the song posting rate is a bit lower than it has been, but the first 5 days of February Album Writing Month this year were weekdays, because this is the first time FAWM has started on a Monday for quite a while. So the weekend's here and people are going nuts and catching up and posting a lot of stuff. And the stuff, I have to say, is extraordinarily good this year. And I'm not just saying that because, you know, it's people I know. It really there has been stuff this last week that I've been listening to and leaving comments on, because commenting is kind of almost as important as making your target of 14 songs. In fact, could be argued it's more important, because it's more about helping other people to be good songwriters than it is about improving your own chops. And I've just been gobsmacked at the songs I've been listening to and the stuff I've been listening to, and just the technology and the language use, the wordplay, the productions, the mixing, the playing, the lot. It's fantastic. People have been leveling up, says Ryako Music, and she is not wrong. So where am I on the challenge so far? I've been kind of easing off a bit, which means that since Thursday I've only actually written 3 more songs. So yes, I have 6 songs under my belt and we're only 7 days in. I think I may be on target to hit FAWM fairly early on this month. And I'm just, cause studio, cause nice, no head injury, no bed over me head, so that if I get carried away and stand up to do me vocals, I'm not giving myself a head injury. And you ever get those times when you just sit down and work on something and think, I'll just do this for like 20 minutes and then I'll get on and do the stuff that I was supposed to be doing. And yeah, I sat down in here at about 7:20 going, I'll just finish this song and it'll only take me 20 minutes. And down the rabbit hole I went, and then I looked at the clock on my Windows display and it said 20:52. I thought, oh, right, okay, I'm supposed to be starting the stream in 3 minutes. Panic, panic, panic. Haven't had a shave, haven't washed, haven't had a bath, I haven't done anything other than to finish song number 6. Atitlan says 20 minutes, that never happens. Oh, you know me too well, sir. Yeah, I have been deeply down the rabbit hole and enjoying every darn second of it. I am having a whale of a time this February album writing month. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying interacting with formlings and old hands on the site equally. So, on tonight's show, he said, clapping his hands and completely overloading the microphone, there will be 3 pieces of music from me. I have another free synthesizer that I've been playing with this week. I have an apology to the people at Orchestral Tools to make about their Mad Layers instrument, because when I actually took the trouble to sit down and watch a YouTube video that explained what it was and how it worked and what you should do with it, it was like, oh, I'm an idiot. So there you go, Orchestral Tools. I'm an idiot, and in fact, let's get on with it now, shall we? So, as I mentioned in last week's show, Sine, or the Sine Player, is a free subscription-based service, but you don't pay for it, so you kind of just sign up and they give you stuff. So you get emails. And Sine is a player that you install as a Virtual Studio Technology VST plugin, or there's an AU version of it, I believe, and that's for the Mac users, and I'm not a Mac user, so I'm not exactly paying close attention to that at the moment, for which I apologise, but nevertheless. So yeah, Sine is this thing. It's the new player for your favourite instruments. What it is, when you run it, or when you load it into a track on your DAW, it pops up, you have licenses in it, and one of the licenses that you get, that you can download from the Orchestral Tools site, is called Layers. And what I hadn't realised, because I said last week, oh, it's you play one finger and it plays chords, and I hadn't realised that actually you don't need one finger, you need 2 fingers, because like with a lot of the more complex and fully featured VST plugins, the other finger is for switching between articulations, and the articulations in this case being major chords, minor chords, suspended 4th chords, staccato chords, you name it, on Layers. So what you do is you play along in the minor key until you need to drop into the minor, and then you just hit the other key on the keyboard to switch Sine's function from playing one articulation, major chords, to the other articulation, minor chords, simples. But Muggins here hadn't figured that out, because when I looked at the interface, I hadn't noticed the little patch of grey keys on the keyboard diagram at the left-hand side at the bottom of the plugin box that says, you need to push those buttons there. So there you go. So I've been playing with it, haven't actually used it, I have to say, on a track, but I have been noodling with it, and yeah, rather taken with it. One thing that I have been using, though, is this little chappy, and so quite a lot of people that I've been listening to their music this week have gone, oh, I just set myself the challenge of only using Helm, because it's free, and Helm And it was like, oh, that does sound rather good. I think I might have to go and download it. So Helm is developed by a guy called Matt Titel. It's donationware, freeware. You pay what you want. It's a bit like my Bandcamp albums, and you can download a 32 or a 64-bit version of it, including a Linux build, I have to say, which has to be applauded. And it's fairly fully featured for a free synthesizer, and I think I'm gonna, because I've only been playing with it for a day and I need to know how to get the best out of it, but it's got a lot of features like built-in effects, and come on, if you've got a distortion built into your synthesizer, you're doing something right there. So I will be coming on to a track that, if I remember correctly, does actually have Helm in it, but I may have got rid of Helm and replaced the Helm line with Isotope's Iris 2, because I've been really getting into Iris 2. I think one of the tracks that I'm going to play you tonight has 7 layers of synths, and I think 4 of them are Iris 2, which, if you keep an eye on the Plugin Boutique website, you can pick up on special offer there when you buy anything else, usually for like $8.95. And you can, if you can't get Iris 2 on the Plugin Boutique site for $8.95, you can quite often pick up Isotope's mad beatbox called Break Tweaker for $8.95 as well. And I will be playing you a track with that on it tonight as well. So everything from mad drum and bass to smooth jazz. That's what I have in store for you tonight. So without further ado, let's get on to the first track, shall we? Ryako Music says, Iris 2 is so good. Atitlan, who I think was the person who persuaded me to buy it in the first place, says, oh, it is. And he's not wrong. So, yeah, Thursday's show, I played you this smooth jazz song, which was mainly just me noodling around on the piano and just having record, or in some cases Ableton's rather nice retrospective MIDI capture function. And I was going, oh, that was nice, I'll save that, after I'd played it. And boy, is that ever a game changer in terms of performance capture for me, because the number of times with the old version of Live I was going, oh, I wish I'd pressed record for that, because I can't remember what I played. But now I don't have to, which is probably just as well. So I went back and I said on Thursday's show that I wasn't happy with some of the chords and some of the inversions and the way the strings didn't always slot in very well with the piano. And I thought, well, it needs more synth as well. So as you can see here, there are now more synthesizer tracks. We have my old favourite, the reverse grand piano. But unlike all the performances that used this in Decembering, which was my free / pay what you want album that's available still on headfirstonly.bandcamp.com, I'm not doubling with the Korg M3 cinematic piano patch that I normally use. It's standalone here, which was way outside my comfort zone, but it's sort of way back in the mix. It's just adding nice little hints of spice to the final mix. There is also the Jupiter 8 from Arturia's V collection, the big brother of the Junos that I have behind me there. And a lovely fat synth paddy sound as only the Roland Jupiter Juno JX series can deliver. I don't even think I'd written the lyrics last time, had I? Well, no, I've written lyrics, and I took it upon myself to be very sparse in this. And you know what I'm like when I write lyrics. I like words. I like mashing words together and finding interesting rhymes and interesting new rhymes rather than the predictable rhymes. And in this, it was like, no, you're just going to be very, very concise, which is exactly what I'm not being now. So I'll shut up and play it. I'm going nowhere. And so are you. We're left in midair. Hope we'll see this through. I've been getting too reflective. For a time long gone, it's just a matter of perspective. Viewed from where I'm hanging on. just a matter of perspective. Viewed from where I'm hanging on. Sure, I apologise for the glitch in that, which is, as I said on the chat, I think the result of me having my audio interface buffer set too small so that it kind of hello Wobby and hello Rabinzif and hello Dazed and Confused, the gangs all showed up. Brilliant. Yeah, I think this, this could kill everything. So I'm just going to set that to 512 samples. Right. And hopefully you can still hear me. Can you still hear me? Can somebody say something in the chat? Yes, says Wobby. Good. I'm going to shut down Ableton. No, I'm not going to save that. And so basically, yes, I've changed my desktop. It's where is it? It's the Celeronda, which is somewhere I used to go skiing back in the day, but I haven't been skiing for many years. Okay, so while Ableton is starting up again, which it is now doing, I will also close down various programs, which, I mean, come on, I've got 64 gigs of RAM in this machine, and it's an i9 9900 something or other. So it's not exactly lacking in the horsepower department, but yeah, it really struggles playing stuff back if I have the interface set to 256 rather than 512. So it is now set to 512. Yeah, Array of Motion says that should not be struggling with anything. And Dazed and Confused says, no, that should never glitch. It could be that I'm just using, I'm using fairly old hard disk drives. In fact, I think some of the samples, yeah, they are. Some of the samples are on the hard disk drive from my previous machine. So it could be that it's actually the disk drive that is the bottleneck. And I had noticed that 4 terabyte solid state drives have plummeted in price. So maybe for 50.90, I'll treat myself to putting all my sample libraries on a solid state drive. Don't know. Anyway, that was Hanging On. Yeah, Riako said some very nice things about my voice, and saying, I really like the way you've not thrown loads of effects on it. And as I said in the chat, that basically comes from having the confidence in my voice to just sing and let this rather lovely Shure SM7B do its thing. And it does its thing quite nicely, and as a result of hearing what it does to my voice, I've been using less and less and less processing on my voice. And I think I'll probably continue. I mean, I use Nectar 3, which is iZotope's vocal processing plugin, and that basically listens and goes, okay, you need a gate, because there's a lot of breath noise low down, and I'll put a bit of EQ on it and a bit of compression, and it usually doesn't even bother with the pitch correction anymore, which is quite flattering. So I do put some processing, but certainly I'm not drowning it in reverb, and not generally hiding imperfections in my vocal performance by layering them with about 9 tracks of backing vocals, which I used to do from some time, until people said, that really doesn't sound good, Chris, stop it. So now most verse vocals are literally just one vocal line, and these days I've been kind of just going, yeah, one take, that'll do. And for the last track that I'm going to play you tonight, I'd done 7 tracks of vocals, so 1 lead vocal line, 2 lines for the pre-chorus, and 4 for the chorus itself. And that was what took up the hour and a half doing that this evening. So it works well with that style of music not to process the vocal much, says Adrian. Yeah, I have. It has been compared, that song. It was like, oh, you sound like Leonard Cohen. And I was like, oh, right, we're back to Leonard Cohen meets prog again, which was the summation of my track on the cover CD for prog 97 last year, 2 years ago. God, I can't remember. Which had Frank Zappa on the cover. If you want to check out a back issue, they do sell back issues if you want a copy with me on it. Right, Ableton is back, you'll be pleased to know. Not only is Ableton back, it's also arrived at the track that I did after Hanging On. And this track is... oh, that's why it's doing it. This track had a lot of break tweaker on it, and I posted it on the February Album Writing Month site, and I said, kind of got away from me a bit. And hello to Engebretson, who said, it's too much break tweaker. And I sat in here listening to it on headphones because it was quite late and I didn't want to annoy the neighbours, and I basically burnt out my hearing for the day. So I came back to it in the morning, and it was like, oh yes, it is, isn't it? So before we get into it, I'm just going to switch back to main camera so I can do a nice seamless professional like transition. Yeah, like me being professional and all the rest. At least I've managed to turn the microphone up this time. This track, although it's an instrumental and doesn't have any vocals, has a story behind it. And the story regards a tweet that was sent out by the San Miguel Sheriff's Department in the States on the 27th of January 2020. And I've actually got a screen grab of the Sheriff Department's tweet on the page for this song on February Album Writing Month, because the sheriff was warning motorists that a large boulder the size of a small boulder is completely blocking the eastbound Highway 145 at mile marker 78 at Silver Pick Road. Please use caution and watch for emergency vehicles in the area. Yes, a large boulder the size of a small boulder. And as you can see by that, it got retweeted 55,000 times. And 298,000 people thought it was amusing enough to be liked. So this track I ended up calling Know Your Boulders, and started off there was break tweaker from start to finish. It's too much, so I took it out and I've actually put a few sample loops in and a few bunches of nifty little effects processing. Now, one of the effects processing dodges that I really, really, really like, and it's really, really, really simple, is this. Is that there's a Max for Live object called an LFO, not HFO, but LFO. And it's a low frequency oscillator. You can set the depth of it, and you can set the frequency of it, and you can set the offset of it. And then it has this little button here which just says map. And then if you click on that button, the next thing that you click on in live, and this is live 10 because Ryako pointed out sadly that it does not happen in live 9. The next thing that you click on in live, anywhere on the screen, will get driven by that LFO. So I clicked on the cutoff frequency of just the stock Ableton Live 8-band equalizer and dropped that on the drums. So I'll play you the track and see if you can spot where it drops in. So this is called Know Your Boulders. So that was Know Your Boulders, and I've just been catching up on the chat, and everybody seems to have hit a wall on February album writing month. So looking, Wobby says, yeah, struggling. Didn't used to get it with the old sound card. Completely stops. Thought song 3 was simple do it song, but it has turned out more difficult than I thought. And Rabin Sif says lovely stuff about Hanging On, which was a previous chat. The miserablest genre, my sort of music. Haha, evening all, you're an inspiration. Oh, you're too kind. You're too kind. And Atitlan says, yeah, reached a can't record more vocals impasse tonight, hence HFO instead of FAWM. Yeah, well, why not? Grab a beverage, make yourself comfy, and we'll talk through stuff. Ryaka Music says, liking that last one a bit, glad you're using change-ups. Atitlan says, still getting little hints of Muse from this. It's the combination of drum style, arps and guitar. Yeah, Muse kind of killed arpeggiation in rock for many, many of us, because they were just using it in everything. And this is Muse when they were a proper band, rather than the Queen tribute act that they seem to have mutated into in recent years. I didn't even buy the last album. The album, I can't even remember. Was it The Third Law? Was that 3 albums ago? Somebody's going to say, oh, that was like 6 or 7 albums ago. And it's like, yeah, it was just, yeah, okay, done. And I actually saw them perform in their hometown in Dorset, on the seafront many years ago. Ryaka Music says, are they not a proper band? They were brilliant. I mean, okay, I do have digs at Muse in here every now and again. And I mean, I did use Take a Bow from Black Holes and Revelations as an example of how not to use compression on a track. But I have to say that album, Black Holes and Revelations, is a stunning piece of work, and the couple of albums before that were as well, but the Second Law is just that's kind of a bit meh. Atitlan says Second Law was an album too far for me. They're still great live though. They are, yeah, they do put on a show, they really do. And the keyboard that I have behind me here, the Korg, see that little thing there? That's effectively, it's a Chaos pad, which was a little XY controller that Korg sold for like a couple of £100, and it does weird things to effects and sounds and things. And the Chaosillator you can now download for your phone for like £20. When lockdown first started, Korg made it available for free, but unfortunately it's not free anymore. It's £20, but it is rather good. But Manson Guitars, who build most of Matt Bellamy's guitars for him, actually, rather than him having a whammy bar on a guitar, he has a Chaos pad on it. And I saw that and it was like, that's either really, really ridiculous or the coolest piece of guitar technology I've seen since the Synthax. And that's going back a few years. But, yeah, how did we get onto Manson Guitars? I don't know, Chris. How did we get onto Manson Guitars? Yeah, anyway, this track. So, what have we got on this track? Let's go back to it. We have Break Tweaker, which I have got talking to 6 separate audio outs. And the reason why it's talking to 6 separate audio outs is now completely buried in the mix. And that is that I was going, I am going to do a track with side-chained compression pumping on a synth pad. And believe it or not, there is some in there. So if I solo the synth pad in question and play you it, I don't know if it'll work. Oh, it does. So if I turn the side chaining off, and then back on, and it's not doing it now because I got rid of Break Tweaker at that point. So you get the idea. So sidechaining, basically you trigger the compressor, so the compressor only works. It only kicks. It doesn't kick in on the audio signal that is the track that it's on. The compressor kicks in, although it acts on the audio of the track that it's on. It kicks in from a completely different track altogether, which is one of the Break Tweaker tracks. I've got to remember which. So it's number 4, is it? Okay. So if I solo the pad and the Break Tweaker at the same time, you can hear how it sort of fits with the beat. But of course the thing is, by the time I'd done everything else, it just disappears. But I know it's there. So yeah, lots of synth on this. That was the Arturia Cz 101, the Casio Cz 101 synthesizer. I've used that synth more than any other synth in the Arturia V collection, which is absolutely mad, because when the CZ 101 came out, it was just viewed as a toy. It wasn't really viewed as a professional musician's instrument. But apart from the pads on it, which that was, it does the most incredible bass lines. I absolutely love the CZ 101. What else have we got? We've got Pendulate, which is Newfangled Audio's monophonic version of, I can't remember what it's called. Is it Gravitate or Granulate? So they made a polyphonic synthesizer, which you buy, but to get people interested in it, Newfangled Audio made a monophonic version of it, which is called Pendulate, which is free and well worth getting. And it depends or utilizes the physics of a coupled oscillator. In other words, a pendulum that's got 2 sections, and a weight in the middle and a weight at the bottom. So it has two separate main oscillators, but because of the way they add together, it becomes very, very chaotic and sensitive to initial conditions, which means it's going to do unpredictable stuff, and it really does. And on this track, it's fairly buried, and it's also heavily grunged with Isotope's Trash 2 distortion plugin, but this is what Pendulate's doing on this track. And again, frankly, that's a very, very Muse sound, isn't it? It really is. Other synths are available. I'm just having a big Juno Jupiter phase this week. It's just, I am all about the fat pads, and who are misses? There is no cure for the fat pads, but I'm using this for arpeggiation. And then underneath that, we have another Jupiter 8 doing a different arp. So there you go. And as you can see, rather a lot of guitars, because I'm enjoying doing guitar stuff. Atitlan says that tone is nasty in a good way. Rab Emsif says, I used to own a CZ 101, never figured out what happened to it. Then were the days. Oh man, Atitlan, CZ101 never heard of it, says that is like, I don't believe you. So, or Emotions. Regarding Muse, there's a band called Amplifier. I think they're from Manchester or something. Muse like, lesser known, but I think more interesting. Right. As always on these things, I write this stuff down and investigate. I have also to give a big shout out to the French Dogie, who released a track on February album writing month that he said was Arcanish. And I'd never heard of Arcan. So it's ARKA apostrophe N. And they're from Togo in Africa. And they're a sort of ethnic folk / metal band. So if you can imagine sort of tribal sort of ritual drums and everything else and a living colour kind of vibe, they're really, really good. And they've got some albums out, but I can't find them on vinyl. I could only find them on MP3s, and I'd much rather try and track down vinyl, or even better, a CD of the band. But that's Arcan from Togo. Well worth checking out. And go and check out the French Dogie's tracks that he's uploaded to February album writing month as Dogolito on February album writing month, because he is knocking them out of the park this month. There's some really, really good stuff on there. And if you're into gent, yeah, give his stuff a listen. This track, it started with a title, and the title was It Is What It Is, because that's kind of life at the moment. It is what it is. We just have to deal with it. And I was just sort of mulling over the phrase and started putting, well, I fired up Superior Drummer and used my default setting, which is to open up the Metal Foundry, which is a Superior Drummer expansion kit, and select Dev Kit, which is a replication of Devin Townsend's drum kit. So here we are. It's loaded it. Here's Superior Drummer. Open Superior Drummer. Open the drums. There you go. Dev Kit. More brass than a Bell Foundry, and they're all gorgeous sounding. See, I think Dev's slacking because there's room for another cymbal there. Look, there's a ghost of a cymbal that has been omitted. Why wouldn't you have yet another cymbal? And I really, really like the sound of that Dev Kit when it is used in conjunction, of course, with the drum bus audio effect that comes with stock Ableton Live 10 called Drum Bus. I use the preset called Transient Shaping Enhance. I dial it back a bit because it can, I mean, for a start, you want to dial your drums down about 5 dB because of the added impact that the transient shaping has on the sound of the drums. But I love the sound that it does. Like I said in a recent stream, I really, really have got into playing bass, but not with the basses that I have here on my, so like the Ibanez Blazer fretless there, or the JD Rode 2A there. Haven't been using those. No. I've been using the guitar, what I bought for doing Meshuggah type stuff, the 9-string. So yeah, the top 6 strings are the same as an electric guitar, and the bottom 3 strings are C sharp, F sharp, and B. And I love playing bass on it. It's just got a great vibe. So this track, I had it is what it is in my head. And I dug out, what was it? It was an add-on pack on Ableton. It was rock! Exclamation mark. In fact, it wasn't even rock! Exclamation mark. It was rock! Exclamation mark. And yeah, didn't really have a structure. Everything else like that. Rebimsive says 9 strings. Yeah, absolutely. So it's like a bass and a guitar. So it's an extended range guitar. I tried the 8-string version of that, and that was nice. But then I picked up the 9-string, and it was like, whoa! And I walked out of the shop after having paid. Walked out of the shop with it, and that was 3 years ago now, 4 years ago, and I love it to bits. But these days it does get most use as a bass guitar, and I'll just solo the bass so you can marvel at my tone. So this was the bass on this track. So you get the idea. So yeah, I was just getting my groove on to the drums, and I had a track laid down, and it was going to be, fairly straightforward. I thought, yeah, there's going to be songs on this. There's going to be vocals on this. There were going to be vocals on Know Your Boulders, but that one did kind of sort of run away with me, and it was like, yeah, I'm not singing on this. This one, I eventually sort of think, well, why would somebody say it is what it is? And at that point, I remembered seeing the video footage that was going around on social media after the events at the Capitol in America on January the 6th. And one of the people who'd participated in the events on January the 6th clearly hadn't thought there would be any consequences to what he'd done, and therefore threw a hissy fit and literally bursting into tears when he turned up at an airport and discovered that the FBI had put him on a no-fly list. Video footage that somebody filmed this guy using their phone absolutely having a breakdown, going, they called me a terrorist. Well, sunshine, that's what you are. With that image in mind, the lyrics kind of wrote themselves. So this track is called It Is What It Is. Your fate's already been decided. You really didn't think this through. All of the evidence provided. Your telephone just grasped on you. Some acts have consequences. So that's, I was saying on the chat, that is so new that I haven't even uploaded it to FAWM yet. And I think I may redo that final guitar solo, which is actually about the third time I've recorded the guitar solo there. And I'm still not happy with it. In fact, well, you can see I switched off the previous guitar solo, and that was a single take, which I'm quite proud of. But yeah, it's too thin. It's the Jazz Vox AC30 setting on the Zoom G3. And I mean, I'm driving it with the Parker Fly, which has fairly high output pickups. So it just sounds a bit thin. Bit too thin for me, so I might redo that. And Ryako Music says, I heard an impact there. You did. You heard this. It is one. So as again, I said in the chat, I've been learning from the master. You know, I watch what Ryako shows us in her tracks. And I mean, I'm even using Redux to give it that bit crushed whine, which I love, which kind of makes you notice it a bit more because you've got something both at the low end and the high end of the frequency. So I've been paying attention. I really have. And yeah, that's so new that I haven't even uploaded it to February Album Writing Month site yet. So when we're finished, I'll probably chuck the headphones on, do another take on the guitar, and then faff about with it for a little bit, and then upload it to the site later on this evening, and then have another trawl, as I have been doing, through all the February Album Writing Month profiles in an attempt to stamp out those that have been basically created as sleeper agents. So there are a whole bunch of accounts. They don't link to anything. They don't have particularly questionable or even, obvious spammy usernames, but when you see the username, the email address that some of them have been registered to, it was like, ooh, yes, I think we'll get rid of that. So Atilan says, notice that if it drops into a thicker solo, should really make an impact. I like that track and the concept behind it. Thank you. I every track I've started, apart from the Silver Machine tribute, which pretty much just wrote itself, every other track I've done so far this year, I've worried about not coming up with the goods. I don't know, it's sort of like performance anxiety. Is that a thing? And yet there is always, so far, touch wood, and this is like 6 tracks in, there's a point in working on the song that suddenly it was like, all right, I understand what this is now. And it's very odd. In some years, I'd only get that at the tail end of 50/90, when I'd been consistently writing songs on a daily basis for 3 months. But thinking about it, I've kind of been consistently writing songs on a daily basis since 50/90 started last July, because I didn't stop. Rocktober, I did 3 tracks, which I uploaded cover versions to the 50/90 site. And then basically from the end of October, once I put this studio together, which took 3 weeks or so, I've been back at it, writing music in here pretty much every day, because it's what keeps me sane, frankly. It's what keeps me going. It's what motivates me to drag myself out of bed in the mornings when I eventually manage to drag myself out of bed in the mornings. And it's what gets me fired up intellectually, so that I'm usually buzzing by about 11:30 at night. And it's a real struggle to actually tear myself away from the console in here. And having said that, I start yawning and go and get some sleep, which I suppose, I really ought to be doing more than I have been doing. But again, like I say, I'm enjoying this. I'm getting a hell of a lot out of it. And I would like just to say a big thank you to everyone who bought at least one of my albums, and some of you out there bought more than one of my albums on Friday for Bandcamp Friday, because I had the best day in plays and sales that I have ever had on Bandcamp. And I kept on going back to the stats page on Bandcamp going, crikey. So Agon Gaming, hello. I had a really, really good Bandcamp Friday. My stuff is still available. You don't have to pay any money for the last 3 albums on headfirstonly.bandcamp.com. Just go over, have a listen if you like it, download it, pay stuff if you want. I will be uploading more stuff onto Bandcamp. I will probably do like a remix, because there are bits of some of these tracks. The philosophy of February album writing month is you write 14 songs in 28 days, right? So you can't be precious about it. And if you come up with an idea for a song that you kind of already posted, it's like, no, you don't go back and change that song. You carry on and write all the other songs and do your 14 songs. You can do your mixing and mastering afterwards. That's what March is for, after all. There are bits, so there are a couple of bits like with the Silver Machine tribute that I can do better. I'm not sure that the chord progression in the first verse matches what's going on with the guitars, or rather the other way around. The guitars need to bring out the chord progression in the first verse before the Windows 10 narrator vocals kick in. So I may go back and do an even more over-the-top version of I've Got This after February album writing month comes to a close. And I was really gratified that somebody left a comment a couple of days ago which says, you're Adrian Belew, aren't you? To which I'm not, but there were a couple of guitar sounds in I've Got This that were intentional nods to Adrian Belew's guitar style around the time of Lone Rhino and Twang Bar King. And if you haven't got those 2 albums, and you can actually buy them as a double CD, so you get them both in one package, do check them out, because Adrian has been a hero of mine for 40 years, and he's a lovely chap, and he's one of the main reasons why the favourite guitar of mine that I play is one of these, which is, you can't really see it, there you go. So it looks like a spaceship. It's a Parker Fly Mojo Midi. So it's an electric guitar. It's got all sorts of fantastically fancy electronics built into it. Its neck is actually coated in a carbon fibre weave. It weighs next to nothing. It sounds glorious. And it also drives my Roland guitar synth, as does that thing there, which is the Godin. And Adrian has played Parkers for years, and I just love the look of the thing and the sound of the thing and the fact that it talks to a rolling guitar synth. So it was like, yeah, I'm gonna give a little nod to Mr. Belew in that track, and I did, and somebody picked up on it. So result. I'm not gonna do a long show tonight because I've already played you all the music that I wanted to play you, and I think we're all getting a bit tired because I see Ryako in the chat says, damn it, you're yawning and now I'm yawning, and yeah, that's never good. So I will probably sign off fairly shortly. So that's kind of it for tonight. I'll be back on Thursday, as I say, 7:30 GMT. I'll be back here next Sunday, hopefully with a fistful of new February album writing month songs to share with you. Hopefully also with a fistful of new musical instruments and VST plugins to share with you. I will work further with Helm, which I had used on that last track. I kind of like it. So I sidetracked again. I'm not going to finish just yet, am I? Because, I mean, come on, I've not been going an hour and a half yet. Let's go back to Helm, shall we? And we'll talk about it in more detail. So it's a 64-bit synth. It's got some really nice... So, yeah, loads of things that I have no idea what sort of influence they have, but I mean formant, so you can do vocal shaping on the patch, and you've got distortion and delay and reverb and a stutter as well, so it's got loads of things. What does it actually sound like on this? Well, it's a fairly nice pad. That's not bad, is it? You don't get an awful lot of presets, but there's some nice bass lines, he said, failing to find any of them. There you go. It's a bit acid house, a lot of them, I have to say. So it doesn't appear to be what one could describe as particularly subtle, although I noticed in the pads there were some quite nice Vangelis type tributes, shall we say. Where is it? There was one, was it Sad Sci-Fi Strings? Sounds a bit of Yamaha CS80. Is a bit, isn't it? Ryako says, Jesus Christ, the high frequencies on that streamer. Yeah, like I say, it's not a subtle instrument. Atticlan says, sounds quite raw. I think possibly what I need to do is have a big play with their filters, because when it comes to synths, the filter is quite possibly the most important part of determining what makes a synth sound good or not good. So that, you know, some of the Moogs had, is it ladder filters that, or was that the Odyssey? I can't remember. I'll have to ask my buddy Norm. Norm will know all of these things. But the thing that strikes me about Helm is that the filter side of things has kind of taken a bit of the back seat. that they're not really dropped into the patches. You just get the patches, and it's up to you to do the filtering side of things after the fact, as it were. And so yeah, I think I probably need to do a bit of a deep dive into Helm, and rather than just depend on Helm's own presets, make my own, because that's kind of what I do with all the synth stuff at the back there, is fiddle and go, no, don't like that, don't like, oh, that sounds nice, and save that one, and then do the same until you run out of buttons for the presets on the synthesizers. But yeah, so I will have a further play with Helm, but why not go over to the Helm site and grab yourself a copy and have a play, and we can compare notes next week. But this time I really, really, really am going to sign off. So all I would say is thank you for joining me once again. Thank you for hanging out. I hope if you're taking part in February Album Writing Month this week, that it is a productive week. I hope if you're struggling, if you're trying to cope with recalcitrant hardware, that it starts behaving itself. Oh, and since I wrote a song about Ableton Live crashing every time I used a Wave plugin, I reinstalled Live version 10.1.30 from a fresh download. Hasn't crashed once all week. I think I may, he said very rashly, have fixed it. So, until Thursday, whatever you're doing, stay safe, stay well, stay sane, stay Wayne, whoever Wayne is. Look after each other, look after yourselves, wear a damn mask when you're outside, and I will see you on Thursday at 19:30 GMT. Till then, take care. This is HFO signing off.